so horses for more than 10 years, and I tended to know her race-going clothes well. The hat was new. She noted the direction of my glance and the admiration that went with it, but said merely, "Too cold for Cascade, do you think?" "He won't mind it," I said. "He'll loosen up going down to the start." She wouldn't mention Danielle's absence, if I didn't. Always reticent, sheltering her thoughts behind long eyelashes, the princess clung to civilized manners as if to a shield against the world's worst onslaughts, and I'd been in her company enough not to undervalue her chosen social facades. She could calm tempests with politeness, diffuse lightning with steadfast chit-chat, and disarm the most pugnacious adversaries by expecting them to behave well. I knew she would prefer me to keep my woes to myself, and would feel awkward if I didn't. She did, on the other hand, understand my present predicament perfectly well. Not only was Danielle her husband's niece, but Lizzie, the prince currently diverting Danielle to a 15th-century junket, was her own nephew. They were both currently guests under her Eaton Square roof, meeting from breakfast to dinner, and from dinner to breakfast, for all I really knew. "What are our chances?" the princess asked neutrally. "Pretty good," I said. She nodded in agreement, full of pleasant hope, the prospect of winning real enough. Cascade, despite an absence of brains, was a prolific winner of 2-mile chases, who had shown his heels in the past to every opponent in that day's field. Given luck, he would do it again, but nothing certain, ever, in racing or in life. Prince Lizzie, whose whole name was about a yard long and to my mind unpronounceable, was cosmopolitan, cultured, impressive, and friendly. He spoke perfect idiomatic English with none of his aunt's thickened consonants, which was hardly surprising, as he'd been born after his royal grandparents had been chased off their throne and had spent much of his childhood in England. He lived now in France, but I'd met him a few times over the years when he'd visited his aunt and escorted her to the races, and I liked him in a vague way, never knowing him well. When I heard he was coming again for a visit, I hadn't given a thought to the impact he might make on a bright female who worked for a television news agency and thirsted for Leonardo da Vinci. "Kit," the princess said. I retrieved my attention from the Lake District and focused on the calmness in her face. "Well," I said, "some races are easier than others." "Do your best." "Yes." Our pre-race meetings over the years had developed into short, comfortable interludes in which little was said, but much understood. Most owners went into parade rings accompanied by their trainers, but Wickham Harlow, trainer of the princess's horses, had altogether stopped going to the races. Wickham, growing old, couldn't stand the incessant winter journeys. Wickham, shaky in the memory and jerky in the knees, nevertheless still generated the empathy with horses that had put him straight into the top rank from the beginning. He continued to send out streams of winners from his 80-strong stable, and I, most thankfully, rode them. The princess went indomitably to the races in all weathers, delighting in the prowess of her surrogate children, planning their futures, recalling their pasts, filling her days with an unflagging interest. Over many years, she and I had arrived at a relationship that was both formal and deep, sharing intensities of success and moments of grief, understanding each other in easy accord at race meetings, parting to unconnected lives at the gate. Unconnected, that is to say, until the previous November, when Danielle had arrived from America to take up her London posting, and ended up in my bed. Since then, although the princess had undoubtedly accepted me as a future member of her family, and had invited me often to her house, her manner to me, as mine to her, had remained virtually unchanged, especially on racecourses. The pattern had been too long set, and felt right, it seemed, to us both. "Good luck," she said lightly, when the time came for mounting, and Cascade and I went down to the start, with him presumably warming up for the canter, but as usual sending no telepathic messages about his feelings. With some horses, a two-way mental traffic could be almost as explicit as speech, but dark, thin, nippy Cascade was habitually and unhelpfully